A programming language, its libraries, or just any other software tool that is widely used by people, has documentation. What is that? Software documentation is a collection of information stored as written text, illustrations, or both, which accompanies the feature of the software tool and assists its users. However, this might not be as appealing as it may initially sound, because there is a significant gap between the level of a beginner and the advanced language used in the documentation. In a nutshell, what often happens is that multiple teams collaborate on the development of a certain software tool, and they need to keep track of various components and updates in the documentation at any given point in time. This entails the use of quite a technical language, which ends up being particularly confusing and unclear for beginners. So, you should know that even if you are an advanced user already, you might still encounter explanations that are very hard to understand when you access certain documentation. But this doesn't mean that you shouldn't use it as a point of reference. Quite the opposite, actually. It is just that sometimes you need a certain amount of experience in dealing with programming languages and their packages until you reach the level that allows you to easily navigate through the relevant documentation. Well then, if the documentation can contain all the information about a certain software tool, such as Python, why would you need to look around for more examples and applications of the language? Here's why. First, you might want to go through an introduction of how to use the relevant software tool written in an understandable, plain language. This can help you make your first steps and build up the confidence you need to become an advanced user one day. Second, and more importantly as well, the documentation doesn't normally say much about the practical aspect of using the framework in question. This means that it is so voluminous that it could be hard for you to evaluate what professionals would want to take from it, especially while dealing with external factors such as time constraints or abiding by the rules of best practices. In addition, other powerful tools of Python may actually be missing from its documentation. For instance, you will always have to balance between speed of execution, volume of memory usage, risk of losing your data, and making analytical decisions, while information for these and other factors might not always be present. To sum it up, it turns out that the documentation is the biggest collection of information for a certain software tool that is available out there. However, it is highly technical and theoretical. You would like to have an experienced user to show you how to read through it to extract the piece of information that will be valuable to you in a given moment. Since our mission is to help you become an independent user of Python in general, and Pandas and NumPy in particular, we aim to provide you with the right intuition. This will help you browse through the relevant documentation more quickly and efficiently. It is the same intuition that you'll need when surfing online on websites such as Stack Overflow. For instance, while searching for an explanation of a certain problem or error message you encountered while coding. On that note, just remember that as helpful as Stack Overflow can be for providing specific solutions and intuition, it is the documentation that has been written by the creators of the relevant software tool. The point here is that in case of conflict, the content provided in the documentation shall prevail. With that in mind, remember you don't need to shy away from developer documentation, even if it seems overly complex at first. Learning how to read it is a great skill to have. So, as the time you spend on it accumulates, this will help you become a proficient user of the given software tool in the long term. You really don't need to know much more about software documentation at this stage. What you rather need is to gain practice. That's how you can use the documentation to your benefit, and thus improve your learning curve. The next video will be more specific. We will, so to speak, make a tour of the Python documentation. See you there.